amazing array of crazy stuff going on. But the question everybody has is, should we be hitting the panic button? I don't even really know what that panic button is about.
Well, I mean, there's so many things that we could potentially be panicking about. It seems like we probably should. You know, we have the justice system and the president being convicted on 34 counts of something. I'm not really sure what it was, but 34 counts of something. And it seems that this bird flu thing just won't go away. And there's a lot of stuff going on with the bird flu thing, right?
Yeah.
And right, so there's all these things happening, and it seems like, you know, China is surrounding Taiwan and doing military exercises. And I mean, if this isn't a good time to panic, well, when is? This is
Yeah.
going to be one of the best opportunities we've had. So I figured, well, gee whiz, you know, let's take a look at all the things going on that we might want to panic about and see, is that really the best option here? And it might, in fact, be. So we'll take a closer look at that. So
Yeah.
what do you got there? What's all that?
This is your Twitter.
Oh,
I'm just, I mean, X.
you use it with the white background. I use it with the black background because, you know, for me, it's like I want it to be like I'm in the Bat Cave. So like
Right.
everything dark. So I like with so I didn't barely recognize. To me, this looks like Facebook or something. I'm like, what is this, Facebook? It's like, where did you find this? Yeah,
Well, I
no,
just wanted to let everybody
yes.
know that they should follow you if they aren't already on X at I_am_John Cullen, and also recommend that people follow me if they aren't. You know, John, this account, this at JG_CSTT, it's catching up to where I was. Wait a minute now. Why is it only one following? What happened to all the people I was following? What the hell is going on with Twitter here? Wow. They're doing so many crazy things.
So are you following me? Who are you following?
No, there's just an error. There's all these people. I'm following like 1,000 people or something. I don't know why it says that. But you know what? It was locking me out of Twitter earlier. I've been kind of burning up Twitter with this 2 million norm tweet. And
it
also
wants you to prove it's really you and sign back
yeah,
in. Yeah. That's what happens when you.
when you start doing things, right? And they just, you know, I've been basically busting this idiot Oren Levi who goes around the city thinking he's a journalist, but his moron brother and he both separately told me they were Mossad. I believe that. I think they're part of the NYPD intelligence unit. There's something called the International Liaison, and we know that the cops train with the Mossad. Here's Levi. I don't even remember who took this picture or how it came about, but here's Levi with Desmond Marrero, who has assaulted me, Hawk Newsom, who is the head of Black Lives Matter New York, and oh, who's that? It's Eric Adams. Now, wait a minute.
Letitia James. That's Letitia James.
No, it's not. This might be that girl. Is it Andrea? Is that her name? She was just there today up at Trump Tower. And then the thing is, Andy No had published a picture, a video rather, of Oren Levi and his brother. It was basically Oren Levi's brother Ronan was up at the protest at Trump Tower blasting one of those hockey air horns in somebody's face there. Where are they here? I'm trying to find it. But it's, you know, Andy No put this thing out. Twitter confuses me, man. It's a giant mess. Oh, there it is. So this is Ronan Levi, and I think that's the girl in the meeting. I thought she was legit, but she's there in the meeting with BLM and Eric Adams. But so they're doing all this. The cops don't mind that this guy is blasting a super loud air horn in people's faces. That should be taken away from him. That's a weapon. You could damage somebody's hearing, definitely starting a fight. All this pushing, they do nothing. It's ridiculous. And it's Oren Levi making the video. He is viral news, and this is his brother. These guys just agitate protests. We're seeing the same people agitating the protests all over town.
That's the key. So that's the thing that you've been showing. It's not immediately evident when people watch mainstream news.
Right.
And you're showing it's the same characters. And you were pointing this out just the other day. I'm not figuring this out. You pointed it out. That you're seeing the same characters at these events. And event after event after event, the same characters show up with the same stunts. And once you see them at 3, 4, 5 different events, you start to ask yourself, who are these people? And a very interesting observation that I think is only something you would see through the lens that you've provided. I don't
Yeah,
think
well,
anybody else covered it this way.
7 years of on the ground. These people came after me. Remember, Oren Levi approached me on the street. I never knew who he was. I never sought him out. If it's true, and I'm correct, that he is an Israeli Mossad agent placed in the NYPD, how outrageous is that? That foreign agents are stalking me, menacing me, assaulting me. I need to amend my Goodman versus the city of New York, and we need to find out what the hell is going on with the NYPD intelligence unit, because now that I see this, and we had this other video the other day in the park where in part I was, pulling out all those undercover officers and everything, but they're surrounding me, they're menacing me. How is this allowed? And he's saying, Levi says to me, why don't you, get out of here? And it occurs to me.
Racist. You're racist. Got it.
You back the fuck up.
You're racist.
Back up. This ain't in your spot. You better move.
Why don't you leave?
Right there. Why don't you leave? That's exactly what they were saying to me when I went to Twitter November 1st to tell Elon Musk that the FBI controls Twitter. Now, here's the interesting thing. The FBI JTTF is embedded, as far as the public is told, in 2 units of the NYPD. We've got the Special Response Group and the NYPD Intelligence Group. That is JTTF. So if the intelligence unit is using undercover people like Oren Levi and this Vietnamese goon who was in my face, who outweighed me by about 100 pounds, and their goal is to get me to get out of there. Remember, there was somebody agitating yesterday, and I called the police from where they were standing and said, can you please tell this guy to go stand on the north side of the park? He's protesting Trump, and you NYPD geniuses have bifurcated this park to keep protesters on one side and Trump supporters on the other side. My understanding was that was to maintain order in a very unique situation where the President of the United States is on trial. So if the cops are not going to enforce that, I don't know why they set it up in the first place. It does make sense. They should have asked that guy to leave. But what they said was, he's exercising the First Amendment. We can't do anything. So the question now becomes, do they insert agitators like Oren Levi and this ape of a friend he had with him yelling in my face? What he's doing, advancing toward me, that is menacing. And he's making me feel like he's about to beat me up. So that's menacing in the 3rd degree, and it is also the intentional tort of assault. Just making me feel like I'm about to get beaten up is the intentional tort of assault. It's not sufficient for the police to arrest him, but I could sue them for that. And it seems to me after this event, where he's saying, why don't you leave, is that this is how the NYPD gets somebody like me to go away when they don't have a legal basis to compel me to do it. Because that's exactly what happened at Twitter. They were saying, why don't you get out of here? And if it goes far enough, the police show up. That's exactly what happened at FIT when I was there and the Palestinian protest broke out. And there was that guy who looked exactly like the Venezuelan gang member that was in the New York Post. And then the next day, I showed those 2 photos to a police lieutenant on the street, and he said, you're right, it's an uncanny resemblance. Why don't you give me your ID so that we can take a police report? And I said, forget that. The last time I gave you morons my ID, I got a ticket. And I think what he was doing is he was saying, uh-oh, this guy's figuring stuff out about NYPD intelligence. Let's give him a ticket. Let's jam him up. Let's start having Oren Levi and his brother stalk him around the city.
Well, if you go back to that video clip where the guy's approaching you and menacing you, as that's happening, there's 2 cops walking up behind you.
Absolutely. Because they're protecting these guys and they're waiting to arrest me the second I go at them. The other thing that's weird about this clip is that there's a Chinese woman who is standing in front of me, antagonizing me. Not her. There's one who's like running the camera who you can't see. She's standing next to Levi. And I at one point say, shut up, lady. You're not, there are the cops. I say, shut up, lady. And the thing is, how many 65-year-old Asian women do you know that insert themselves into fights? It seems like the opposite of the demeanor that I observe in most elderly Asian women. They're generally timid and not getting into fights with strangers in the park. These people all work for the cops.
I mean, the behavior that they exhibit certainly is bizarre. And the fact that you stand up to it, most people would be intimidated. Most people would say, you know what, I don't need this aggravation, and something's going to happen, and you stand up to it. Most people wouldn't. Most
That's
people,
why they do it.
right? It would have the intended effect, right? And if it's not this guy or that guy or whatever, next thing you know, you get crackhead Barney with the vaginosis coming at you. You'll never show up.
She works for the
again.
cops too.
That's
All
what
of
I'm
these
saying.
people work together. I've seen them now over the course of 4 or 5 years at different events. They're always working together. Orrin Levi is always antagonizing me, nervously looking, where are the cops? Because he knows if I punch that guy in the face, he's going to shatter like a glass puppet. I wouldn't do that because I don't get involved in violence. But I'm going to get that guy deported. If he's Israeli and not a U.S. citizen, first of all, what the hell is the NYPD doing getting foreign intelligence agents to stalk and harass me around New York City? That is so unacceptable. I just can't even
This
begin
happened
to
yesterday.
explain.
This was yesterday in New York. This was downtown yesterday.
This was 2 days ago or so at Collect Pond Park outside the trial. So this was the day before the verdict.
Got it.
And what they want to do is they want to clear me out of there so they can stage whatever kind of nonsense the police are staging. Yeah. And all these cops already know, get this guy out of here. He knows that Max Azzarello didn't burn himself up. I was yelling at the New York Post photographer who took the picture of Max Azzarello the day before. Remember, Azzarello was the guy who self-immolated, a guy named David Delgado, who appears to be the kingpin of photo assignment for the New York Post. All the photographers hang around this guy, not like they're friends, like he's the guy in charge of giving out photo assignments or something. So what appears to be going on is this guy has established some sort of relationship with the police, where one hand scratches the other. He doesn't go around photographing them texting and smoking cigarettes and giving them a lot of crap in the way that I do. He takes pictures that makes the cops look good, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets one that doesn't make them look good. He magically doesn't publish that. So there's this sort of give and take with the cops that grants him access. I was asking him if he was the guy who took the picture of dead Epstein on the gurney. Turns out it wasn't him. But as I said, he does seem to assign photographers, so I think he knows what I'm talking about. When I said to him, Max Azzarello faked that self-immolation, I was shaking his hand, and as I said it, his hand was still in my hand. He turned around and walked away. Isn't that odd? Don't you think any photographer would say, fake? What are you talking about? The guy burned himself up. But he took the picture of Azzarello in the park the Thursday before the Friday. Azzarello, to memory, burned himself up like April 19th or something like that. The picture of him in the park with all his signs, that was taken April 18th. But it was published on the 19th to make you sort of believe that he's in the park that day. And when I called Delgado, or whatever his name is, he said, no, it was taken the day before. So this is a trick. They're trying to trick us.
Surprise, surprise. I mean, it's everything we've been working with here. That it's one of the reasons why that out of shadows concept that they kind of pre-bunk stuff using Hollywood. And now, as a magician who's been seeing through a lot of this monkey business, I feel like all those magician movies were the setup just in case somebody like me came along.
Maybe.
To make it look ridiculous.
Right.
In other words, it's like, oh, come on. You mean like that movie with the Four Horsemen and come on, what's his name?
The guy
Jesse
from the
Eisenberg.
Facebook movie. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg's in the movie.
What are those movies called? Abracadabra or something? Hocus Pocus?
No. What's his face is in it? Woody Harrelson's in it. Woody Harrelson plays some master magician bad guy or something like that. And it's just, it's all corny stuff. And there's a whole bunch of movies where there's, magicians playing.
Now You See Me.
There you go. Now You See Me. And a whole bunch of movies where the magician is the guy who figures it out. And it's almost like they were making it corny just in case one day, Penn Jillette comes along and says, hey, wait a second, where the window up at the Mandalay Bay is not broken. And they could say, oh, come on, it's just a magician being a magician. Because it seems like such a weird thing. And yet, every one of these things we've been working with seems to be a form of an illusion. And when it seems like it's done on purpose. Like one of the things I talked about with the Vegas shooting was this accidental illusion concept, which is when you look at Mandalay Bay at nighttime, it's a mirror, and you don't really realize it. And if you see something flashing at Mandalay Bay, it might actually be behind you, reflecting off of Mandalay Bay. And that's an accidental illusion. Nobody kind of lined anything up for that to happen. That happened accidentally. But some of this other stuff, certain strains of certain things not being in PCR tests and whatever, and that's not an accident.
Right.
No,
but you're right, though. The kind of mental gymnastics and tricks, the combination of special effects and real-time performance and riddles and mysteries, it is the type of thinking that a magician is accustomed to that regular people are not.
Oh, very much so. I mean, I can tell you the way I look at this stuff is very much like magic tricks. And I'm trying to figure out how would this work? What's not here? We're going to talk about that in the show tonight. There's been a lot of talk about this bird flu thing. And I'm always looking for like the counter narrative, the other part of the story. And so I ask very childlike questions. Like, how many cases are there?
It's kind of adult questions. Everybody else is panicking and not knowing what the hell is going on.
But I want to act like I'm 2 or 3 years old and just ask the most basic questions. How many cases are there? And how many people died so far? And where? That's it. And hopefully that's not too controversial. I don't think that'll get us kicked off of YouTube or anything, just asking those questions. But that's the kind of approach that I take. And, I'm excited about the new book that I've been working on. Very excited to share this with the audience, The Silence of the Chickens. This will be coming out soon, and everybody's talking about this. Very exciting. Very exciting.
That's good.
The new book, The Silence of the Chickens. It's sort of a coming-of-age story about a young FBI agent who can't believe the gain-of-function work that's going on in Wisconsin, and we follow her through the trials and tribulations. It's a fascinating story. All right, so for those of you who are not familiar with my work, who've been seeing Jason on Twitter and on Dr. Jason Dean's show, or just became aware of Jason. You were on with Dr. Jason Dean the other day or today.
Yeah, he's great.
Great guy. And you were on with Coffee and a Mic, right?
That's true, yeah.
You just did Coffee and a Mic the other day. Another really good guy. I don't know. Do you know his story? You know Mike's story?
Not
he
really.
used to weigh like 400 pounds.
Whoa.
He lost over 200 pounds.
Wow.
And now he's like a freaking triathlete guy. Yeah, he's running in the mountains with weights on his shoulders. It's
Holy cow.
Yeah. He's got one hell of a backstory, man. He was morbidly obese, and I don't know exactly what the flipping point was for him, but now the guy's like in great shape. He's running around in the mountains and stuff. It's a fascinating story. He had me on his show as well. So I've been on Coffee and a Mic, and I've been on with Jason Dean a couple times now. And Jason Dean in particular, I think is kind of flabbergasted by some of the things that we've been talking about on this show. And I'm glad that he took the time to let you educate people about lawfare. And I thought it was a great episode. I think you really did a great job of explaining it to people who are just becoming aware of it for the first time, like him. And the stuff you explained, with Vinman and, the various different characters. And he was like stunned when you started talking about the tax forms and stuff. Very, very important episode. It's something that if you guys haven't had a chance to watch, you really should watch it. And I'm sure the Coffee and a Mic podcast was excellent as well, I'm sure, because he does a great job. Yeah.
No, very good. And
big week for you, man. Yeah,
thank you very much.
How many other shows have you been on this week? You triple booked? Are you doing four or 5 shows? What are you doing?
I did do 3 shows today because, this is the third. I had Charles. We went up to the Trump Tower, and see, here's the thing. all that shenanigans, that went on after we left. And I saw 2 or 3 undercover cops who spent a lot of energy in Collect Pond Park telling me, we're not undercover cops. And I was like, okay, you're all bald, 200-pound stocky guys with cell phones clipped to your belts, looking around, and you've been here every damn day doing nothing? Okay, yeah, you're not cops.
All right, why don't we share with the audience a couple? Oh, do we even have time? We're going to run out of time in just a couple
We've got
minutes.
5 minutes. But then people are going to be able to join us for the sponsor exclusive segment on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and Subscribestar and Patreon/crowdsourcethetruth. John, it's extra important this week for people to become sponsors of both you and me if they appreciate this show and value the information and want us to stick around, because the NYPD, I suspect, struck that channel. They took out Crowdsource the Truth 10, probably because I was just, I don't even know why. YouTube didn't tell me, but that channel is decimated and gone. And obviously there's a lot of people who want to delete us. Even when a Crowdsource the Truth channel gets deleted, it hurts our ability to get your message out. And so for people who really want the show to continue, I really would appreciate it if people would visit subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen and Patreon for John or Odyssey or whatever. But to the slides, please.
Yeah, I can't believe they took out Crowdsource 10. That's just crazy.
During the live stream, they were pissed that I was exposing their undercover, assault of me.
Unreal. All right. So for 3.5, 4 years, I was wrong. And one of the things I was talking about with Dr. Jason Dean on the session I did with him yesterday is how I was serving a really important purpose for the powers that be, for the GEC, for the guys looking to cover this up. And that is, I was an unknowing limited hangout.
Exactly.
And he didn't know what limited hangout was. And so I gave him sort of the Cliff Notes version and explained to him I didn't know what it was either, and that you taught it to me, and that once you understand what it is, you start seeing these patterns of behavior. And what happened with me, thinking it was H1N1 1918, reconstructed pandemic influenza for so long, is I served a purpose. I was taking people on a really compelling wild goose chase. Unknowingly. Thinking I'm right? And I take everybody down this road with reconstructed pandemic 1918 H1N1. And then new evidence shows up. Right. And the new evidence that shows up says, well, did you know that the people from Wuhan, the first patients, were co-infected with bamboo mosaic virus? And I said, get the hell out of here. They had bamboo mosaic virus. Get out of here. What else did they have? Oh, they had that crimson contagion one too? That is so weird. I thought that was a simulation thing. I didn't know that was really running around over there. This changed everything. And Jason Dean, Dr. Jason Dean hears this, and he's like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And starts reaching out to everybody to invite them that you got to come on the show and you got to hear all this stuff. And nobody wants to talk about it. And now he's looking at the GEC definition and going, 90% of the people I've had on my show working for these guys?
Probably.
And people are starting to wake up and wonder, how do you ignore these findings? How do you ignore Amy's findings from 6 months ago?
Right.
Telling you all this stuff. You don't have to listen to me. Listen to Bubba's Lamb Chop. He's been posting this story. You know what? I don't know if Bubba's Lamb Chop Shop is a guy or a girl, to tell you the truth. I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's a guy.
From the jokes, I think it's a guy, yeah.
I think it's a guy, but I don't know. Or I don't know. So, but I refer to Bubba as a he. So these folks have been posting this stuff for 6 months. Forget my stuff. They're doing their own independent research. These aren't friends of mine that are trying to make me look good. These are, people I met on Twitter that are having similar findings, coming together and looking at each other going, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Like, this is this. And so when you meet somebody like a Dr. Jason Dean, who's got pretty decent reach, like the video that you did with him today, has got well over 5,000 views already.
Oh, great.
Yeah, way more than what we get here on YouTube. So he's on
Twitter is doing well for our videos. You know, we've been able to live stream, on X. And
Rumble. He's on Rumble, and he got way more views than we get here on YouTube.
Rumble doesn't like me because they were affiliated with Stephen Biss and Dan Bongino.
There you go. So, well, there you go. It's Dan Bongino, and Dan Bongino, Stephen Biss, and there we go. But the Brave TV channel, which is Dr. Jason Dean's channel on Rumble, Brave TV, he's got a lot of subscribers, and your episode, I think, was well over 5,000 views today. So, you know, I'm lucky if we get 2,000 views on this show.
But that's great.
He's got a nice audience there. And the fact that he's so open and welcoming of new information and new twists and turns and learning stuff like lawfare, learning, like Brookings. You brought the whole Brookings thing to him. He didn't really know a whole lot about the kind of stuff that's going on at the Lawfare Institute and the Ben Wittes angle and all that stuff. So I love when people are open to learning all this new stuff. And to me, it's really refreshing. And at the same time, he's scratching his head and wondering, why does no one want to come on the show and talk about this? Right?
Because we're exposing them all.
Right. All right, let's show everybody this map, and we'll go over to the patron-only session. We'll leave them with this map because you guys know I love maps. And this is the Try and Scare the Bejesus Out of You map. That's the official title. And this is where we're tracking gray seals, harbor seals, coyotes, red foxes, and the American marten, just in case you guys were concerned about H5N1 cases in the American marten. So this is a really good way to portray that the H5N1 outbreak, this bird flu outbreak, is just devastating everything anywhere. We got domestic cats, we got the bobcat, we got the black bear, we got the mountain lion, we got the polar bear.
What? Where are there polar bears in the middle of the United States?
In Alaska, they got a polar bear. We got the
wow,
Virginia.
look at that. Wow.
We got the Virginia opossum. All right, the Virginia opossum, right? Very important that we track that. How many people have H5N1 in America?
I thought they said 8 or something.
3. There's 3 cases.
That's not a lot.
3. All right. But what we're going to talk about when we go to the patron-only session right now is that BARDA, now you guys remember BARDA, Rick Bright, who now follows me, so we say nice things about Rick right now. Rick Bright, the guy with the socks, used to run BARDA. And now he follows me on Twitter. He's following Amy. And by the way, Don Jr. is following you. I heard Donald Trump Jr. started following you after you almost hit Normeisen in the nose. And he decided, so he's following you. But Rick Bright, who used to run BARDA just did a deal yesterday with Sanofi for 4.8 million H5N1 vaccines. And we've got 3 cases. So BARDA did a deal yesterday with Sanofi for 4.8 million vaccines of H5N1, and we've got 3 cases in America. There's 8 cases on Earth, and 1 girl in Vietnam died.
Wait, this isn't it. What is BARDA?
BARDA. I have it in my deck. You guys will see it.
Okay.
The patrons are going to see it. And the other thing the patrons are going to see that's huge, you haven't seen this yet, Amy found this, Amy shared it today, and she's like, oh my God, this is huge. March 2nd, President Trump meeting in the White House with Azar on camera. We're going to see this with the patrons, talking about vaccines. March 2nd. They don't know about the asteroids. There's no asteroids and they don't know anything about it. March 2nd, there's 1 person dead in America. And they're having a meeting in the White House about vaccines with 1 guy dead in America. And there's not 10 dead in Shanghai, Hong Kong, Beijing. What was this meeting really for? Vaccines for what? This is March 2nd. We have the video of this meeting, and we're going to watch this with our patrons. So if you're not a patron and you've got your finger this close to the panic button, now's a good time to sign up. There's 8 people on Earth with H5N1. 1 girl died in Vietnam. There's 3 cases in America. So BARDA just bought 4.8 million vaccines. I'm John Cullen. We'll be back with our patrons in just 5 minutes.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be right back.